This is Excel Chapter 3, Part 5, and we are going to be beginning on page 168. In our last video, we got all the formulas for July entered, found out their operating income. So now all we have to do is simply take that all the way through December. Because we used the absolute cell references that had the dollar signs in them, we can now copy the formulas straight over. If we had not used those absolute cell references, we would have to rewrite the formula and tell it to look back here into column B. So I'm going to just highlight all my information from cost of goods sold down through operating income, use my fill handle, and take it all the way through December. Okay, now I'm ready to find my totals. Because we're not finding a total for these blank rows, we're going to be finding totals for non-adjacent cells. So to do that, we're going to click basically everywhere we're wanting to put the total, which is H14 and 15. Hold Control to tell it these are non-adjacent. Select H18 through 23. Still holding Control, click in cell H25. We now have where we want all of our total answers to be. We're going to make sure we're on the Home tab. We're going to press Sum. And now we have all of our totals in. Now, if you were zoomed out or zoomed in, or your column's not wide enough, you may see some hashtags. You may also see some kind of other references that looks like this. All that simply means is that there's not enough room to display all the numbers in the cell. So that is how we determine the row totals in non-adjacent cells. Let's go ahead and unfreeze the worksheet titles and save the workbook. I already unfroze mine, but I'll show you how to do it. All we have to do is go to View, go to Freeze Panes, and this time it says Unfreeze. So click on Unfreeze. We can now move wherever we want to in our worksheet, and we're going to save it. Okay. Speaking of if functions, I do want to show you a nested if function. Basically, this means that we want to look at something, and depending on what its answer is, if it's true, we want to ask another question. So it's an if function within an if function. So you don't have to do this, but I do want you to follow along with me. I'm just going to type student age and then permission slip. Okay, make those a little bit wider so we can see them. Here I would type in a student's age and whether they have a permission slip. Let's say our student is 15, and yes, they had a permission slip signed. My question is, can they go on the field trip? So that basically is my question. Are they allowed to go on the field trip? What I'm going to do is have an if function. In order to go on the field trip, they have to be 14 or older, and they need to have a permission slip. So I can simply look at this and say, yes, they're over the 14. So do they have a permission slip? Yes, they have a permission slip. Can they go? Yes, they can. However, if we had a lot of these students, like in a big school, that would be harder to look through. So we're going to do an if function here so the computer will simply tell us whether they're allowed to go on the field trip. So I'm going to start with a formula which is equal, and this is going to be an if function. So I'm going to type if, and because this is nested, we're just going to type it out. I'm going to use parentheses, and whenever I type it out, you'll notice that it gives me all my things that I'm working for down here. So what's our logical test? We want to know if the student is 14 or older. So I'm going to click here where their age is, and are they greater than or equal to 14, comma. Now it says what to do if true. Well, if it's true, we have another question to ask. If they are older than 14, we need to know, do they have a permission slip? So I'm going to space, type if, parenthesis, basically I'm starting over with another if function. What's the test? If this is equal to a y, and I need to put the y in quotation marks exactly the way it would be entered so that it looks for exactly that y. Then I'm going to have a comma. What do I do if it's true? I'm going to have parenthesis, or I'm going to have quotation mark, and I want to put allowed, quotation mark. And what about false? If they don't have a permission slip, I want it to tell me can travel but no permission. And again in quotation marks. Now that finishes that if function, so I need a parenthesis. And let's go back to our original one. First of all, are they older than 14? If so, do they have a permission slip? If they're not older than 14, what do I want to see? I'm going to add my comma, and I'm going to want it to tell me that they are too young to travel. With my quotation marks again, and I have to always end with a parenthesis. Now I'm going to press enter and we'll see if this works. Look, it says that they're allowed to go. Are they allowed? Yes, they're over 14, and yes, they have a permission slip. Let's say they were 12. Oh, they're too young to travel. What if they are 16, but they don't have a permission slip? Then they can travel, but they have no permission. So this is a simple nested if function that would work really well for answering a question within a question. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to do some adding and formatting of a spark line chart. Basically, sometimes you want to condense a range of data into a small chart in order to show a trend or variation in the range. Excel's standard charts may be too large or extensive for our needs, so we can use a sparkline chart to provide a simple way to show trends in the variations of the range of data within a single cell. Excel has three types of sparkline charts. There is a line, column, and a win-loss. Because they exist in only one cell, you should use a sparkline chart to convey eye-catching summaries of the data that they represent. Basically, we're wanting to put, I'm going to go back to sheet 1. You guys are doing this with me. We're back to our original worksheet. Under here, under the chart column is where we're going to be putting our sparkline chart. So we are going to use each row of monthly data, including those containing formulas, and provide useful information easily summarized by our line sparkline chart. This is a good choice because it'll show trends over the 6-month period. So I'm going to go so that I can see both columns B and I. So I need to see column B over here and column I over here. I'm going to click in cell I13, and then I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to here in the chart section. I'm wanting a line chart. Oh, that's not the right one. That's a real line chart. Coming over here to the spark line section, and here I'm going to choose line. And this is going to, if I double click on it, it's going to bring up my dialog box. It says, what is my data range that I'm wanting to look at? I'm wanting to look at cells B13 through G13. So I want to look at all of this for every month. And where do I want it to be placed? I want it to be placed right here in cell I13. I'm going to press OK, and there is my sparkline chart. So basically it's just a simple chart, a simple line chart showing me the trend in sales for that period. Okay, we can then format this and copy it to the other cells. So we're on here. We're going to go up here to the top under the Design tab now. Be sure you are clicked on that chart. We're going to go to the More button so we can see more of these. The book is telling me that I am wanting to choose one of these over here. You can pick whichever color you like the best. I'm going to go with this one, which is kind of a blue color. And then whenever I have it formatted the way I want, I'm going to just use my fill handle, and I'm going to fill it all the way down through row 25. Okay, so now I can see my trend in my sales, in my bonuses, in everything that I had in my total operating income to see what kind of trends are showing up. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop this video here.